What's going on, Dolphins fans? It is your boy Dillon, and so today I am making a video. It's gonna be about an article. I'm gonna read through it and discuss it. It's a Adam Beasley article that he wrote and just put up recently, and it's discussing some comments that Stephen Ross made at the grand opening of the team's new training facility yesterday. And so that's going to be the primary focus of this video. And that's what I'm going to get into in just a minute. Before I do, though, I want to say this, before I get into this article, his comments, Stephen Ross's comments, the implications of those comments and how I, what I take from them and so on and so forth. I want to say this, that when it comes to the training facility, so, obviously yesterday was the grand opening. Everybody's super excited. It's new. It's beautiful. It's, got all these fancy features and all that good stuff. And, like I said, everybody's super excited. They obviously made a really big deal about it yesterday. That's what everybody was talking about. It was all the news yesterday. And so, I just want to comment on that real quick. And first and foremost, when it comes to, well, first and foremost, cool, right? I think it's great. I think it's, it's a wonderful facility. It's right there next to the stadium, right? So it's got, good location. And that's great, right? And Stephen Ross paid for it. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. So I love it from, from that standpoint. And, obviously over time, stadiums, training facilities, they get old, right? So they need, updates. And oftentimes it ends up getting paid, in most cases, it ends up getting paid, at least in large part, by the taxpayers, because the owners are too, greedy to pay it out of their own pocket. So let me be clear at the start of this video that I give Stephen Ross credit where he deserves it, right? And I've always said that he's been great in the community with his, donations, the charity events that they do. He paid for the Dolphins stadium renovations and the training facility. He gets tons of credit for that. The one area I've always given him shit for is his ability to make football decisions, right? And so from that perspective, I have to say that I really don't give a shit about the training facility, because a brand new training facility doesn't equal wins or losses. It doesn't mean anything, right? It is completely irrelevant. It's a brand new training facility and they have, good stuff there, right? I mean, to be fair, they do have all the, most updated technology and stuff like that. And I think he even lists, that might have been somewhere else that I read that. Yeah, I think that was somewhere else. But I was going to say somewhere, in some article or tweet that I read or whatever, they had listed the different things, and they got everything, right? I mean, they got all the best. They got the tanks the isolation chambers and the fucking, they got massage rooms, weight rooms. They got it all, right? And so it's grand, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, but that doesn't equal wins and losses, right? It has literally nothing to do with the product that they put on the field. So from that perspective, I really don't give a shit about the training facility, and that's why I didn't make a video about it. And I'm not really going to say much more outside of this about it. But I did want to open with that. And in part because I want it to be clear that when it comes to, all the extra stuff, Stephen Ross is great, right? Because what is an owner supposed to do? What is their job as an owner of a sports team? Their job is to make that team successful. Now, whether that's because they're super hands-on or whether it's because they hire people to do it, it doesn't really matter. It's their job primarily. They are the root of everything that happens with that franchise, good or bad. It starts with the owner, right? So, when it comes to football, he's been pretty terrible. He's been pretty terrible, and I don't see him getting any better. And so, you know, which is going to lead me into this article, because he made some comments yesterday that I think are really important and play to some of the points that I've been making. So let's get into this article. Tuesday saw the opening of the Miami Dolphins' opulent new training center next to Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. Before the ribbon cutting, Dolphins owner Stephen Ross appeared to suggest, with a bit of humor, that he is expecting an immediate return on the 9-figure investment from his team. Coming off a disappointing ending to the 2020 season, are the Dolphins under pressure to perform in 2021? All right, before I actually move on and get to his comments, I just want to say this. They absolutely are, for a few different reasons, including what I'm about to read to you about Stephen Ross's comments. But aside from that, they tanked the 2019 season. They took on that philosophy, and that philosophy is intended for quick rebound. It's not supposed to, right? Your tanking was not successful if it took 6-7 years like the Browns did, right? So I'm super happy for Browns fans that the Browns are now successful, and, you know, because of their desperation and whatever, they managed to accumulate a lot of really top-end talent, and then they were able to take that top-end talent and they were able to develop them and get them to form a cohesive unit, right? So I'm super happy about that. But it took them 6 or 7 years, and thus their tanking did not work. Because the point of a tanking is to, as I've mentioned, shit the bed in your first season, clear your roster, and put out a quality product that is not matching of an NFL caliber team, right? So you put out a lesser quality product on the field with the intention of having a high draft position, and you do so by getting rid of all your players, trading them away, etc., build draft capital and cap space, right? And so you do that, you gain all of those resources, and you take such a drastic measure to begin with, so that way you can turn it around very quickly. Then you add in the fact that they actually did go 10-6 last season, even though I think it was an absolute overperformance and they were not a 10-win team. But they did reach that level and win 10 games last season. And then with the expectations that you get from the media and from the fans, just no matter how you slice it, absolutely it is time for them to win, and they are absolutely under pressure to perform. Now let's continue on. Stephen Ross sets high expectations for the Miami Dolphins ahead of the 2021 season. Let's just say real quick, and to be fair, I haven't seen any like video or audio of his comments. I'm only reading them from here, so you know I don't know what his tone of voice is, but I've heard Stephen Ross talk plenty of times, and even if he is using some humor and, you know, and maybe being a little sarcastic or whatever, the dude is not, you know, some giant comedian, right? So like, I say that to say that even if he is being, a little bit tongue-in-cheek about things, he's probably pretty serious about what he's talking about, because that's who he is. He's a businessman. And when he talks to the media, at least from my experience, when I've seen him talk to the media, he might, like I said, he might make, some somewhat tongue-in-cheek comments, but the base point that he's trying to make, he's very serious about, right? And so, again, going back to his comments when he, when he fired Adam Gase, the very first press conference, he said, I hope it doesn't take 1 or 2 or 3 years. And, he said some stuff that was kind of tongue-in-cheek there. But the point he was getting at is 3 years, man. 3 years is about, what I'm going to give it, and that's when I'm going to expect fucking results. Also, another way to slice this really quick is this is year 3, and they have, for the most part, exhausted all of those resources. They blew through the cap space, and then, they've pretty much used all of the draft picks that they've gotten, right? So, you know, the time is now for them to win. All right. During the opening of the new training facility, Ross made a statement that included multiple references to winning a Super Bowl. Let's just say that it's not the way he makes it seem in the framing is that it was kind of in passing that he mentioned it. No, he was pretty direct, and here's what he had to say. We want to do as much with the community as we possibly can. We want to be the best in class in the NFL, and that's something that he has actually said a lot through his time here. He repeats that phrase a lot, best in class in the NFL, right? So in other words, he wants to be, and this is what I've been saying to people, right? What he wants to see from the Dolphins organization and the team is to be like it was during the Don Shula years, right? He wants to see them be the top of the league, right? A perennial playoff contender and pushing for the Super Bowl. He wants to see them be like what the Patriots have been the past 2 decades. You can virtually guarantee them to win the division, get to the playoffs, and compete for Super Bowls. That's what he wants. So he's repeated that phrase a lot. And then he says, to finish off that sentence, and we want to win the Super Bowl. I mean, really, there is no more clear way to say it and no more direct way to say it, right? He just said it flat out. And so, you know, this is not something that I think he's, you know, like being sarcastic about, or right. So even though he may make some tongue-in-cheek, you know, kind of funny comments, he wants to win the Super Bowl, and his expectations are, we're in year 3. We've gone through all these resources. I want, and so look, and then this, I think this is super telling. This is the next thing he had to say. Well, I think we are 2/3 of the way there. And the rest, I hope we are hoisting the Super Bowl at a very short time, with the emphasis on short. Bro, I'm telling you guys. I am telling you guys. Okay, so now, he doesn't say anything about we have to win the Super Bowl this season. And to be fair, I actually don't think he does expect them to win the Super Bowl this season. I think he would be elated, as we all would be. I'd be fucking super psyched if we made it and won the Super Bowl. I don't care how we get there, right? I mean, I do. To be clear, I do. If the team did look like shit and just somehow, you know, managed to get there and, you know, whatever, fucking, I don't know. But that's hard to do, right? Like, so the team would have to be pretty fucking good. And if we made it to the Super Bowl and won, I mean, there is some degree of, I don't care, man. We fucking got there and we won, right? So, but to be fair, I don't think that he is saying, I expect them to win the Super Bowl this year. But if you look at what the expectations are just in general, from fans, from the media, all around, when you look at, you know, what has been done, right? So you look at his comments from his very first press conference after firing Adam Gase. I hope it doesn't take 1, 2, 3 years. This is year 3. He says that we're 2/3 of the way there. So what I take from that is he's saying, okay, 2/3, 3 years. This is now year 3. We haven't yet begun it, right? Training camp starts next Tuesday, so we haven't really begun yet, but we're basically there. We're getting close to starting year 3. He thinks we're so in other words, year 1 in his mind was a success. We shit the bed. We got the 5th overall pick, right, in that draft, in the 2020 draft. And so success. We did that's 1/3 of the way there. Then last year, they were big spenders in free agency, right? And they fucking blah, blah, blah. They got to 10 wins. And now the expectation is 10 plus wins, compete within your division, because he's going to want to be able to see that they're going to be able to hang with the Buffalo Bills and they're not going to fall behind the Patriots, right? God forbid if the Jets were somehow to jump the Dolphins, right? If they ended up in 4th place in the division, Stephen Ross would shit his fucking mind, right? So, anyway, So he wants it. So 10 plus wins, compete in the division, and make it to the playoffs at a minimum. I guarantee you that is the bare minimum expectation for Stephen Ross in year 3. Again, he says we're 2/3 of the way there. That means he expects this year to be big. And he says, with the emphasis on short, I hope so. Look at this comment. I think we are 2/3 of the way there, and the rest, I hope we are hoisting the Super Bowl in a very short time with the emphasis on short. So to me, when I read that, what I hear is year 1 was a success. Year 2, I'm, chalking it up as a success for now at the very least, because we got the quarterback that I wanted and we won 10 games. I mean, I assume he views that as success. So that's 2/3 of the way there. Now he's saying what I expect is this year, 10 plus win team, compete in the division and make it to the playoffs. That will be the final third of the piece. And that will be what I expect and what I require to continue on. Right? And he then expects a Super Bowl, right? So, I don't know. Maybe he expects a Super Bowl in year 4. Or maybe he would, be fine with an AFC championship. And then expects a Super Bowl in year 5, right? So, I don't know. Maybe he does, have some tiered fucking approach to it. But the point is that this season is the final third in that piece, and he absolutely expects this team to make it to the playoffs. And this is why and the reason why I'm emphasizing and kind of repeating myself right now on this one point is because I've been telling you, man, this dude is old. He's obviously only getting older, and he's getting more and more desperate. I'd also like to add into real quick that he is a billionaire, and he understands that him and those of his ilk, the people who are rich and powerful in this world, have destroyed the planet, and it is on the verge of reclaiming itself. And why do you think Jeff Bezos and these fucking rich assholes are trying to take trips to space? I know it seems weird and wild and crazy, but it's true. They're trying to figure out a way to escape climate change. And I mean, I don't think it's going to be successful, but we'll see. Anyway, point is he's old and he's desperate, and before he dies and or the world goes through mass extinction and possible uninhabitability, then he wants to see a fucking winner. So people are, so many people I've heard say, nah, dude, I don't think, even if they didn't, if they won 8 or 9 games, I don't think he's going to fire Flores, man. Flores is wonderful. He's so great. He's an amazing football coach, and he's got the right culture, and he's building through the draft, and he's so smart and wonderful, and blah, 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 blah. I'm telling you, bro, if they don't meet that minimum threshold of 10 plus wins, because you're going to have to, they won 10 games last year with an expanded playoff field and didn't make it to the playoffs. So 10 wins might not even be sufficient, right? It depends on how things turn out, obviously. But they're going to need to win at least a minimum of 10 plus games, compete in the division, and make it to the playoffs. If they do not do that, I'm telling you, people think I'm crazy, but I'm telling you, if they do not meet that minimum threshold, and even if they do win 8 or 9 games into, the majority of the fan base, Tua has a good season and looks like the franchise guy, I'm telling you, Flores and Greer will still be fired. But like Reason had mentioned on his show, maybe they will keep Tua, but they'll get fired, and then he'll bring in an offensive-minded head coach to try and squeeze out as much as he can from him in year 4. It will be his third year. It will be Tua's third year. And then if it doesn't work, then hey, in year 4 in 2023, when they have a couple first round picks, they can go get a quarterback. Or, you know, maybe trade for Deshaun Watson still, right? Because that's still a possibility. So I'm telling you, bro, I'm telling you, man, I've been saying this since the very beginning when this whole thing started, the whole tanking, the whole fucking after Adam Gase got fired and Flores got brought in, and you know, it was made clear that they were going it with a tanking philosophy. I've been saying it from the beginning, bro. About 3 to 3.5 years is how long this regime is going to have. And if they do not meet the expectations of Stephen Ross, he will fire them. And so we will see, man. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that, you know, the super over-optimistic fan base is correct. And I hope that they do meet those expectations. But I got to keep it real with you. I don't see it happening. And again, even if Tua looks like the guy and we go 8 or 9 wins and exceed my expectations, but they don't reach his, well, there's going to be major changes. So anyway, let's continue on. Let's finish this article. It takes all these small details when putting together a great organization, he says, that will be used to winning and winning often. If you can't win with a facility like this, then you never will. See, now that's part of where I believe he was being, you know, somewhat tongue-in-cheek. However, I think that comment is also a bit insightful into Stephen Ross's mentality, and it plays again to something else that I've been saying. He thinks that the solution, the only thing that you have to do as an owner of the team is just throw unlimited resources at it. And look, he gets a ton of credit for redoing the stadium and building this training facility. Absolutely, I'm not taking that away. But what I am saying is that he thinks that to some degree, even if he is being sarcastic and tongue-in-cheek about that, which I do believe is the case, right? I think that's the part where he was being funny, right? If you can't win with a facility like this, then you never will. I think he's also kind of being serious, because I think he believes that, well, look, I rebuilt the stadium, I built this beautiful training facility. Look at the resources I've given you over the past couple years, let alone the past, you know, decade or so, right? So I've signed, you know, checks to fucking all kinds of players. It doesn't matter how big spenders you wanted to be in free agency. I signed the checks, right? Look at all the resources the past couple years with draft capital and cap space I've given you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. All right. Even if Ross was joking, it would be wrong to dismiss an underlying level of truth in his words. The Dolphins have overachieved in the last 2 seasons. In 2019, they were widely viewed as the worst team in the league, but managed to win 5 games. Quick addition there for clarification. That wasn't because of Brian Flores or his ability as a coach. That was because of Ryan Fitzpatrick and his ability as a player and a leader, and also because your entire roster outside of Ryan Fitzpatrick was comprised of waiver wire guys, undrafted free agents, you know, and nobodies, no-name guys who were playing for their careers. I said this at the time, and I'm saying it now. Brian Flores was clearly trying to lose as much as possible in every way imaginable. I know so many people get offended by that. But on game day, he was trying to lose. And it was clear in his personnel usage, in the play calling, in his usage of timeouts and challenges. I've said this a million times. So, to be clear, it was Ryan Fitzpatrick and the players on that team that literally gave it everything that they had, right? That's why they ended up scraping together those 5 wins. It had nothing to do with Brian Flores, and he was trying to lose as much as possible. In 2019, let's see, I read that. Then in 2020, not many expected them to be in the thick of a playoff race, especially while also trying to develop Tua Tagovailoa on the field. But the standard has now been set. Expectations are high. Ross now wants them to deliver more than just a promising season. The Dolphins expect to be in the race for the playoffs in 2021. While the Buffalo Bills appeared to be the class of the division in 2020, the Dolphins did push them close in their first meeting. I don't think, again, in that game, I don't actually think it was as close as it seemed. And I think that if they had Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano, the Dolphins would not have been that close in that game. I think it would have absolutely been a much more one-sided game. Because if you look at that game, the only way we were really able to move the ball, first of all, our defense didn't perform all that well. And the only reason why we were able to move the ball was because of, one, Ryan Fitzpatrick's, veteran ability to read defenses and his, gunslinger mentality, but also because we were able to attack the middle of the field and the seams in ways that we would not have been able to do, and was proof in the last game that we played, in the second game we played against them, right, where they destroyed us and they had both of those guys there. We were not able to attack the middle of the field and the seams in the same way, right? And that's where we went with pretty much every play. It was, in that area, or most of them, right? So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there because I think it is important for clarification. And look, people just call me negative and stuff, but it's a fact, bro. Like, the only way we were really able to move the ball was, in that area of the field, and it's because they were missing the two guys that normally cover that area of the field. And when they were there the second time, they destroyed us. So I don't see how the evidence could be, evaluated any other way. Anyway, let's see. The Dolphins also defeated the New England Patriots and New York Jets in 3 of their 4 matchups last season. Therefore, anything less than a 3-3 record within the division would likely be viewed as a backward step. That's so huge too. Watch, and I'm telling you, man. I mean, anyway, we'll see, because I actually have the Jets beating us when we go to visit them in New York this year, right? I have a splitting with the Patriots again, and I have the Bills sweeping us. So that's what, 4 losses right there. That would be a 2-4 record within the division. That would be viewed as a step backwards. Equally, after falling short in the final week, the Dolphins have their eyes on at least a wild card berth in 2021. And see, that's what I'm saying. I think Stephen Ross's expectations for this season are 10 plus wins, at least compete within your division, so you can't take a step backward in the division. You can't be less than 3-3, right? You got to get at least to 3-3. If not, sweep the I mean, a lot of Dolphins fans think we're going to sweep the Jets, sweep the Patriots, and split with the Bills. That would be 5-1 in the division. Now, that would be great, and that's what you look for, especially if you want to be a perennial contender for the playoffs and for championships. And that's more along the lines of what I think Stephen Ross wants. He'd be fine, I'm sure, with 4-2 within the division if we made it to the playoffs, right? But that's what he expects. So they can't take a step backwards. So compete within the division and then make it to the playoffs. At least, bare minimum, in a wild card berth if you're not able to claim the division and make it in that way. Tua Tagovailoa's second season could shape Ross's feelings about the Dolphins front office and coaching staff. I'm telling you, while there were plenty of promising signs from Tua in his rookie season, the success of Justin Herbert has added an extra layer of pressure for the Dolphins front office. When the player that was passed up by a franchise succeeds immediately, that leads to questions being asked. And the reason why, unfair or not, it's a relevant part of the context is because the Dolphins took on the tanking philosophy, which you expect immediate results. They didn't get that from Tua, right? Certainly not to the level of a, rookie of the year, right? So, and the Chargers didn't do that, right? The Chargers were not in a tanking situation. They just picked the right guy. Now, obviously, we have to wait and see how the rest of their careers go to be able to know that definitively, but they got it right, at least in that first year, right? And so, right or wrong, right? And I don't think it's actually fair to compare Tua and Herbert in that way. However, the Herbert situation does have massive implications for the Dolphins and their organization. And you know, for the careers of Flores and Grier. It does. Whether people want to admit that or not, it absolutely does. All right. When the player, let's see. Ross certainly made it apparent the front office and coaching staff are now the ones under pressure to deliver. Here's what he said. We got a lot of input from Chris Grier and Brian Flores, but now the pressure is on them. I mean, you literally can't be more direct. You can't be more direct. I mean, he flat out said it. The pressure is on them. I'm telling you. I am telling you guys. If they do not meet that bare minimum threshold, they're gone. And then he says, we delivered, guys. So again, he's saying, I gave you the resources. You got to fucking prove it. So that's the end of the article. And, you know, I pretty much said everything I got to say. I mean, you know, other than that, I mean, it's just real, you know, repetitive. But I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you, just one last time, and I've said it a million times, even if they win 8 or 9 games, which would be exceeding my expectations, and I would have to give them credit for that. And if Tua looked good, man, and if he, you know, looked like he could actually be the franchise guy, right? And if a lot of these players actually do, you know, step up and help them get to that, you know, 8-9 wins, and they look solid and look to make, and, you know, made some improvements from last year, and the defense didn't take a, you know, massive step backwards, right? Like, if all of that happens, but they don't win 10 plus games, compete in the division as well as, you know, that you would like, you know, maybe they only go 3-3, or maybe they go 2-4 within the division, only win 8 or 9 games, and don't make it to the playoffs. I'm telling you, bro, Stephen Ross ain't gonna like that. And Brian Flores and Chris Grier, their days are going to be numbered. And, you know, one more thing to tie in again from what, you know, Reason had said on his show. I think that the likely scenario there is he will then move on and bring in an offensive-minded head coach to try and, you know, get the most out of Tua in his 3rd season, right? If Tua shows some promise and shows to be potentially the right guy, I still think he's going to fire Grier and Flores, but then he will bring in new people, and he will bring in an offensive-minded head coach. If Tua doesn't perform, and if he struggles mightily, and, you know, let's say he starts throwing a bunch of interceptions, and because he's under pressure and constantly running for his life, because the offensive line doesn't step up, and our running game doesn't step up, you know, and our wide receivers get hurt, and the defense takes a step backwards, right? And if he gets benched at some point in the year and Jacoby Brissett has to come in, right? If those kinds of things happen, then I think he's also going to move on from Tua, right? But I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you. All right, I've said enough. I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. Of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I'm out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.